Okay, so you ever feel like you're watching history happen right in front of you, like you're part of something big?
Yeah.
That's kind of how it felt back in 2021 when the whole GameStop thing blew up.
Right.
Remember,
No,
it was like
yeah.
meme stocks and Wall Street bets, and everyone talking about diamond hands. Crazy time.
Yeah, it was wild. What was so fascinating to me was how this whole thing started online. It seemed kind of chaotic, all these people on Reddit, but it really shook up the financial world.
Totally. And it showed how much influence these online communities can have, even on like Wall Street, which always seems so, untouchable.
It really challenged the traditional power dynamics, showed how information spreads so fast now. And the memes, those were key.
Okay, so for people who might not remember every detail, could you break it down for us? Like, what was the GameStop saga all about?
It was really a classic David versus Goliath story. You had all these everyday investors, many of them just using their phones, and they took on these giant hedge funds.
And one,
Well, kinda. They definitely gave them a run for their money, especially the ones who had bet against GameStop.
I remember everyone thought it was going to be a disaster for these like amateur investors, but they held their own.
They did. And the memes were a huge part of that. It was like this new kind of like memetic warfare, right?
Hmm.
These funny images and catchphrases, they became weapons.
Weapons. That seems a little intense.
Okay, maybe not literally weapons, but you get the idea, right? They used them strategically. Like, remember that crying Michael Jordan meme?
Yeah, vaguely.
People were putting that on pictures of hedge fund managers every time those funds lost money.
Oh, right. Like they were rubbing it in their faces. Brutal, but effective, I guess.
Exactly. They were masters of controlling the narrative. They understood the power of a good story, how to get people emotionally invested.
So how do they actually do that with memes? Like, can you give us a specific example?
Sure. Take the infinite money glitch meme, for example. It basically claimed that these huge financial institutions were using loopholes to make tons of money. Unfairly. Maybe, maybe not. But the meme tapped into this existing anger about how Wall Street works.
So smart.
It became this rallying cry. It brought people together.
It was brilliant. They used this simple image to make a complex point, and it resonated with people.
Exactly. And don't forget about Apes Together Strong and We Like the Stock. It wasn't just about getting rich, it was about challenging the system.
Yeah, I remember. It felt like this whole movement was about more than just money. It was about giving a voice to people who felt like they were being ignored.
Right, precisely. It was about challenging the status quo, democratizing finance, and the memes helped create that sense of community.
They created their own language, like
Oh.
an inside joke that everyone was in on.
Exactly. You were either with them or against them, and the memes made that crystal clear.
So powerful.
Mhm.
Okay, but it wasn't just memes. Reddit played a huge role, right?
Huge, especially the Wall Street Bets subreddit. It was like their headquarters, their virtual war room.
It's where they shared their battle plans.
Exactly. They talked strategy, celebrated wins, commiserated over losses. But more importantly, it was a place where they felt heard, understood, like they were part of something bigger.
It's like social media became this powerful tool for financial activism. Who would have thought?
Right. It was a game changer. And it wasn't just any investors. It was a new generation, comfortable online, skeptical of Wall Street, and ready to challenge the old ways of doing things.
It was like watching a revolution unfold. But instead of taking to the streets, they took to their phones. So speaking of key players, we have to talk about Keith Gill, right? AKA Roaring Kitty, AKA Deep Fucking Value. This guy was legendary.
He really was. And he wasn't some Wall Street hotshot. He was just a regular guy, passionate about GameStop, who wasn't afraid to share his thoughts. And when he started making money, people really paid attention.
And then, of course, there was the Elon Musk effect.
Oh, yeah. Talk about adding fuel to the fire.
Right. When he tweeted GameStop with a link to Wall Street Bets, it was like the whole internet exploded.
It brought so much attention to what was already happening, and it sent the GameStop stock price through the roof.
I mean, you could practically hear the Wall Street establishment panicking. Suddenly, everyone was talking about meme stocks and the power of retail investors.
Exactly. And it wasn't just talk. People were putting their money where their memes were. The GameStop saga really did prove that in the digital age, everyday people can wield incredible influence. It was a wake-up call for the financial world, that's for sure. But it wasn't all smooth sailing, right? Things got kind of messy when Robinhood, that trading app everyone uses.
Oh, yeah, I remember that whole debacle.
Well, they decided to, get this, restrict buying GameStop stock right in the thick of it all.
Seriously? What were they changing? That's like kicking away the football right before the winning touchdown.
Exactly. People were furious. It seemed like the one company that was supposed to be on the side of the little guy, the everyday investor, was suddenly in bed with Wall Street.
Talk about a PR disaster.
Total disaster.
Yeah.
Robinhood, named after, Robin Hood, the guy who fought for the little guy, suddenly became the villain. The internet went nuts. Accusations of hypocrisy, market manipulation, you name it.
It just goes to show you how quickly things can flip in this day and age, especially when social media is involved.
Absolutely. It highlighted the power of these online movements, that they're not just about fleeting trends or internet memes, but can have real-world consequences.
I mean, Robinhood faced investigations, congressional hearings, the whole 9 yards. It was huge.
It really was a wake-up call for a lot of these traditional institutions. Like, hey, Wall Street, you're not the only game in town anymore.
Right. Like, these online communities, they have power too.
They do. And even after things calmed down with GameStop, the impact lingered. The language, the memes, that sense of community, it didn't just disappear.
So true.
Yeah.
Like, you still hear people saying diamond hands and to the moon, and they're not even talking about GameStop anymore. It's become part of the language of investing now.
It's amazing. It's like this whole new generation of investors has emerged, more comfortable with risk, more digitally savvy, and they're not afraid to band together and shake things up a bit.
They're not afraid to challenge the status quo.
Exactly. And let's not forget about accessibility. Platforms like Robinhood, they made investing less intimidating, more appealing to younger generations.
So true. I don't need to call my broker and pay a commission for every trade anymore. It's all right there on my phone.
Right. It's the gamification of investing. Those apps are designed to be fun, easy to use, and that's been huge in attracting new investors.
Yeah, some people say it's gone too far, that it encourages people to make rash decisions based on, like, hype and memes instead of sound financial advice.
There's always a flip side, right? It's a balancing act. On one hand, you have this amazing democratization of information and access, but on the other, there's a risk of misinformation, herd mentality, and even market manipulation.
It's a tough one. It's like, how do you encourage innovation and participation without exposing people to unnecessary risk?
It's the million-dollar question. But let's get back to the impact of all this. GameStop wasn't just a flash in the pan. It fundamentally changed things for retail investors.
Absolutely. They showed they can't be ignored.
Exactly. It showed how social media has leveled the playing field, giving everyday people a voice in the financial markets they never had before.
But Wall Street wasn't just going to take this lying down. They had to come up with some kind of counter strategy.
Oh, they definitely tried. Wall Street doesn't just roll over. I think they were caught off guard. This wasn't some predictable market fluctuation. This was new territory.
So what did they do?
Well, they tried to figure it out, try to understand this whole meme stock phenomenon.
Did they try to use memes against the retail investors?
Yeah.
Fight fire with fire?
Some did, yeah. Tried to leverage social media, even memes, to push their own narratives.
How'd that go?
About as well as you'd expect.
Meaning?
It was just inauthentic, forced. You can't manufacture the kind of energy that was driving the GameStop movement, that sense of grassroots activism.
Right, because it was organic.
Exactly. It came from a real place, a shared frustration with the system. Wall Street trying to replicate that, it just came off as, well, kind of sad.
Like that time your dad tried to use slang.
Exactly. Cringeworthy. But it wasn't just about the memes, right? The GameStop saga had regulators scrambling too.
Right, trying to figure out how to prevent something like that from happening again.
Exactly. Congressional hearings, investigations, calls for increased market oversight, the whole shebang.
Yeah, it was a big deal. But there was also this debate about, how much regulation is too much, right? Where do you draw the line between protecting investors and stifling innovation?
Exactly. It's a tough one, right? Because on one hand, you want to make sure the markets are fair, that everyone's playing by the rules.
Right. Nobody wants another financial crisis.
Exactly. But at the same time, you don't want to stifle innovation or discourage people, especially younger generations, from getting involved in the markets.
So it's all about finding that balance.
Finding that balance, yeah, and figuring out what the rules of the game are in this new, social media-driven landscape.
Because the old rules, they don't really apply anymore, do they?
Nope, not at all, which is exciting. It's a whole new world out there. So what does all of this mean for the average investor.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. For someone who might not be, glued to Wall Street bets all day.
Right. Well, I think the GameStop saga was a powerful reminder that information is power. And today, access to information is more democratized than ever before. You don't need a fancy degree or a seat on Wall Street to educate yourself and engage in the markets.
It's like anyone can play the game now.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But you got to know how to play. You have to be aware of how these online communities, social media, memes even, can influence the market.
It's like we're all part of this giant interconnected financial ecosystem now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's interconnected, it's fast-paced, and it's constantly evolving. But the GameStop story proved that individual investors, even those who might feel small, have a voice and they can make a difference. That's a powerful message.
It really is. And who knows what other surprises are in store for the future of finance, right?
Oh, I'm sure there will be plenty.
I can't wait to see what happens next. This was an awesome deep dive. Really makes you think. Thanks for breaking it all down for us.
Anytime.
And for everyone listening, stay informed, stay engaged, and who knows, maybe you'll be part of the next big financial movement. Until next time, keep those diamond hands ready. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into a topic that's sure to get you thinking. See you then.